5 disturbing true stories of being home alone. There's a certain kind of fear that only comes when you're home alone. It's not just the silence. It's the way the house feels different when no one else is there. The way shadows seem to stretch a little too far. The way you suddenly notice every tiny sound you normally ignore. Sometimes, though, it's not just in your head. Here are 5 true stories from people who were home alone and realized too late that they weren't. 1. The voice from the baby monitor. It started as a normal night. Anna had just put her 2-year-old daughter, Lily, to bed and was settling in to watch TV. The baby monitor sat on the coffee table beside her, crackling softly. But then she heard something, a voice. At first she thought it was just static, but then it came again, low, distorted, and definitely not Lily's. "Wake up." Anna froze. She stared at the baby monitor screen. Lily was still fast asleep in her crib. The voice crackled through again. "I can see you." A chill shot through her. Heart pounding, she grabbed the monitor and sprinted to Lily's room, flipping on the light. The room was empty. Just her sleeping daughter, curled up in bed. Anna searched the entire house, locked doors, checked windows. Everything was secure. But when she picked up the monitor again, the camera had moved. It was now pointed directly at her bed. That night, she unplugged the monitor and never used it again. The man in the attic. For weeks, Ben had noticed small things out of place in his house. Food missing, doors unlocked that he was sure he had locked. But he lived alone. Maybe he was just being forgetful. Then one night, he woke up to a creaking sound overhead. His attic. Ben sat up in bed, heart pounding. The sound stopped. Maybe a raccoon? Maybe the house settling? He tried to convince himself it was nothing. The next day, he set up a motion-activated camera in his living room, just to be safe. That night, he checked the footage, and his stomach dropped. At around 2:30 a.m., the attic door slowly pushed open. A tall, thin man crawled out. He moved silently, creeping through the house. He opened the fridge, ate some food with his hands, then watched Ben sleep from the bedroom doorway for several minutes. Then, just as silently, he climbed back into the attic and shut the door behind him. Ben ran out of the house and called the police. When they arrived, they searched the attic and found a makeshift living space. A sleeping bag, food wrappers, a small radio. The man had been living in his house for months, and every night he had been watching him sleep. 3. The whispering outside the window. It was late, past midnight, and Jessica was home alone studying. Her parents were out of town, and the house was silent except for the occasional sound of wind outside. Then she heard it, a whisper, right outside her bedroom window. She froze, every hair on her body standing on end. She turned off her lamp, heart pounding, and listened. More whispers, low, urgent, 2 voices, then a light tapping on the glass. Jessica wanted to scream, but she stayed perfectly still. The whispers continued, a man's voice, then a woman's, muttering things she couldn't make out. Then the tapping started again, harder this time. Summoning every ounce of courage, she crawled out of her room and into the hallway. She grabbed her phone and called the police. By the time they arrived, the voices were gone. But when the officers searched outside, they found footprints in the dirt beneath her window. And next to them, a stepladder. Someone had been watching her, and they had planned to come inside. The basement door that wouldn't stay locked. David lived alone in a small house, a quiet place on the outskirts of town. The basement had always given him the creeps, but he rarely went down there, just to store old boxes and tools. Then one night, he heard the basement door creak open. He frowned. He was sure he had locked it. Getting up, he walked over, shut it, and turned the lock. He shook the handle to make sure. Locked. He went back to watching TV. 5 minutes later, the door swung open again. David felt a chill crawl up his spine. This time, he shut it harder, locking it twice. He even put a chair against the handle, just to be safe. An hour later, a loud bang echoed through the house. He turned. The basement door was wide open. The chair was on the floor like it had been thrown. David didn't hesitate. He grabbed his keys and left the house. The next morning, he had a locksmith come and check the door. The man frowned and shook his head. "This lock isn't broken," he said. David stared at him. The locksmith turned to him, serious. "Whatever's opening this door, it's not the lock that's failing." That night, David moved out. 5. The breathing under the bed. Lucy had always been a little afraid of the dark, but as an adult, she told herself it was just childish fear, nothing to worry about. Then one night, she woke up. The room was pitch black, but she heard something, breathing, slow, shallow, coming from under her bed. She stopped breathing herself, every muscle locking up. She told herself she was imagining it, that it was just in her head. But then, it moved. A quiet shuffle, the sound of fabric against fabric. Lucy's heart nearly stopped. She stayed perfectly still, listening. Then, the breathing got closer. Trembling, she reached for her phone, slowly turning on the flashlight. She pointed it downward, and there, peeking out from under her bed, was a pair of eyes staring back at her. Lucy screamed and jumped out of bed, sprinting out of the room. She locked herself in the bathroom and called 911. When the police arrived, they found a man curled up under her bed. He had been hiding there for hours, and in his pocket was a knife. Final thoughts, though being home alone is something we all experience at some point. It's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be normal. But sometimes, the silence is hiding something. Sometimes, you're not as alone as you think.